An asylum seeker, or shall we say illegal migrant, has been found guilty of the murder of a hotel worker, Rhiannon White. Now, for those of you who have been following the channel will know I've covered a few videos on this case when the asylum seeker, or should I say, like I've just said, illegal migrant DENG, CHOL, MAJEK, who denied murdering Rhiannon White when there was substantial amount of evidence against them. There was DNA, there was CCTV footage when he's followed her to the train station. There was evidence that he could not deny it. Like I've said previously in the previous video that I've done about this, when I found out about the court date and then when I found out about the ongoing trial, at the start of the trial, I've done a video and done a breakdown about this case and saying there's no way he can get a not guilty, and I cannot understand why he hasn't just went guilty. But obviously, in his sick, twisted little mind, he was probably thinking he was going to get away with it, because MAJEK denied he was the killer, repeatedly telling the court when he's got up and gave his evidence, repeatedly telling the court that CCTV and DNA evidence was wrong. And it goes on to say in that article, no motive for why he attacked Miss White has ever been established, apart from when I'd done the rundown when it first happened. And the articles that I was reading up on, and what happened before the actual murder. They'd had a disagreement in the hotel over some biscuits. Rhiannon was obviously on duty, probably taking care of the food and dishing out the biscuits. The probably's allowed one packet each. He's probably been arguing wanting more. She's refused. He's had it in for her. He's been seen on the hotel CCTV, scowling at her, waiting for her. The 27-year-old Rhiannon White waiting for her to finish her shift at 11 o'clock at night. She's finished her shift. She's been there all day long at the Bescott Stadium station. She was attacked at the Bescott Stadium station after doing her full shift at the Park Inn Hotel, where she's been looking after all of these migrants who have come into the country illegally, may I add. She's been looking after all of these, making sure they're fed, making sure everyone's had the fair share, no one's left out, doing a duty of care, because obviously she's somebody who has a duty, someone who's got a caring nature, who was in that job to look after those, because it's a duty of care, because she's got a caring nature. And there's not many people would like to be doing that job, because I bet females doing them jobs in them hotels feel highly unsafe. We all know what's been going on up and down the country with a lot of these type of people who have come in illegally, and they've been hurting women and children. So I can imagine how hard it is working somewhere like that. And if you have a look at his picture, which is on the thumbnail, or if you go onto Google and have a look, he is stating that he was 19 years old. But even in court still, I'll just find this little bit here, even in court still, they still do not know who he actually is. Because it says in court, MAJEK claimed he was 19. But prosecutors said they believed him to be in his mid-20s. So establishing accurately how old he is will determine on his sentence. Because if he is 19, you get sentenced as a teenager. You're not classed as an adult in the courts until you're over 21, where the sentence is increased. But I find that highly fucking ridiculous, to be honest, when it says they believed him to be in his mid-20s. They still do not know who he is or where he came from. And he's saying he's 19-year-old. Obviously, they get told what to say when they're on the way over, if they ever get caught for doing anything, or whether they get caught being in the country illegally. If they tell them that they're only 19, they're not classed as, even though when you're over 18, you're classed as an adult. But because there's legal bearings on it, under the age of 21, you're classed as a young, well, you're supposed to be an adult, but over 21 is when you're classed as an adult. So there's a lot more different things in the legal loopholes and stuff when you're 19-year-old. So they believe that he's in his 20s, originally from Sudan. I'm just going to go a little bit into the case for those of you who didn't see the other videos. So DENG MAJEK murdered 27-year-old Rhiannon White. He murdered the hotel worker who had been stabbed 23 times with a screwdriver at the railway station. She died 3 days later after being attacked at the Bescott Stadium station in Walsall in October 2024, a year ago. And they still don't know who he is. Could you not have gotten in touch with the Sudanese government? And surely you'd be able to find out who he actually is. They still don't know his age. They're only saying he's originally from Sudan because that's what he's told them. How many more have come into the country? What have they done in their countries? What are they running for? These are the things you've got to take into account when these type of people are coming into the country, going into the UK illegally every day. So the killer was staying at the nearby Park Inn Hotel. Staff reported that he had earlier been seen staring at her and others in a scary and spooky manner, standing, staring at them in that manner, putting them in fear, and look at what's happened afterwards. But the most sickening thing is, when they've went and had a look at the CCTV outside of the hotel, he's seen laughing and howling on, jumping up and down, full of excitement, and triumphantly celebrating what he had just done, the sick little individual. Rhiannon also had a 5-year-old son at home waiting for her, which her sister has now had to take on full time. Alexandra is the sister of Rhiannon, who said they've stole a crucial piece of her family. He took so many opportunities from Rhiannon. She will never watch her son grow up. We will never watch her marry, build a family, buy her first house, or learn to drive. She said getting justice for her sister was not the end of her story, and her family would continue to advocate to evoke change in her name. Many have tried to imply this is about immigration, but these are the choices of one man, not an ethnic group, which is really good and brave and big of her to come out and say that, because if a family member had been murdered by an illegal migrant who should not have been there, it should never have happened. It takes some courage and guts and a special type of person to come out and say it's not about immigration, but these are the choices of one man, not an ethnic group. I don't think there's many people would be so reasonable, so look like a very decent family who's had a decent loved one taken away from them. But before he was convicted in a trial that lasted 2 weeks at Wolverhampton Crown Court, the jury heard MAJEK travel to the UK on a small boat, arriving on the 29th of July 2024, and put straight into a hotel, giving him anything he wants, as in clothing, food, a phone. They get all sorts. He was living comfortably. He was only there for 3 months. Only a matter of months before he went on to commit such a heinous act. On the 20th of October, Miss White, who had worked at the hotel for 3 months, was on the late shift, 3 till 11. The court heard that earlier in the day, her co-workers noticed MAJEK staring at her and other colleagues in a manner that was described as intimidating and really frightening and scary. At the end of her shift, Miss White went outside for a vape before walking across the road to the station to catch the train home. MAJEK was seen on CCTV following her from a distance to the station and stalking her over the bridge to platform 2. Miss White had called her friend Emma Cowley, who she had known since they were 5, while she was on the way to the station. During video evidence to the court, Miss Cowley said she heard 2 terrified, high-pitched screams and then a long breath before the phone went dead. Now that is going to take some getting over for Emma Cowley. That must have been horrendous, knowing what had happened. Because at that point, on the deserted platform, Miss White had been stabbed 23 times, 11 of which penetrated her skull, with one cutting through her brainstem. Minutes after the attack, she was found slumped in a platform shelter by a member of railway staff who was assisted by a hotel worker. Miss White initially survived but never regained consciousness and died in hospital 3 days later. And that's when, after the attack, he was caught on camera walking quickly from the scene before throwing Miss White's phone into the River Tame. The murder weapon, believed to be a screwdriver, has never been found. Less than 90 minutes later, footage showed MAJEK dancing at the hotel, while emergency services were still working on Rhiannon at the nearby scene. Prosecutors told the jury MAJEK's actions after the murder had been utterly callous. Despite the figure in the CCTV footage being of a similar build and wearing identical clothing to MAJEK, he repeatedly argued in court it was not him. He also said other evidence, which included Miss White's DNA under his nails and her blood on his clothing, was wrong. How the fuck can you get DNA under your fingernails and say it's wrong? Because of his discrepancies of how MAJEK is, because of discrepancies over how old MAJEK is, the judge, Mr. Justice Sewell, has ordered an age assessment report be drawn up before he is sentenced. And he's due to be sentenced on the 15th of December. So we will see what happens to him and what sentence he gets. It should be life with a minimum of 30 years, but it'll probably be round about life with a minimum of 25 years, around about that. But I will keep you updated on that. And after thanking the jury, the judge referred to the quiet dignity Miss White's family has shown throughout the demanding 2-week trial. It is unimaginable, and I thank you and admire you for it. Following MAJEK's conviction, Carla Harris from the Crown prosecution said Rhiannon White should have been able to work and come home safely, but DENG, CHOL, MAJEK robbed her of her life and future. He attacked her for no reason and callously left her bleeding on a station platform. He then appeared to rejoice in his actions, having been caught laughing and dancing on footage an hour later. What an absolute despicable, horrible piece of... Now that is absolutely shocking for somebody who should not have been in the country to start with. It doesn't bear thinking about what the family must be feeling deep inside. Obviously, they come from a good family and they don't want to speak publicly, but I bet any money that they are fuming inside, knowing that this could have been prevented by him not even being allowed into the country to start with and being sent back straight away, rather than putting them up in hotels till they find themselves feeling comfortable, thinking, because when they first get here or first get to the UK, they will be feeling rather vulnerable, I'd imagine. But once they're there and they get settled, that's when they start planning or acting up and wanting to commit attacks like this, which, like I've said, and I'll repeat it again, it shouldn't be happening. It should not be happening. They should be returned soon as they enter the country illegally. It's different if they go if you go into a country legally to go and work, which a lot of prison staff have came from Africa to the UK to work in the prison systems, but because of the immigration laws, they're actually having to be returned. They're actually more or less getting booted out, but they've went to the UK to work. They've been checked and vetted. They've got visas, work visas, and they're the ones that are having to go back. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. They've got everything so wrong. But I will keep you updated on what happens on the sentencing, people. Hopefully you are still enjoying the content. And if you are, remember to comment, like, and subscribe, everyone. But more importantly, stay safe.